Have you ever gone through a life reboot or reset where you feel like all of a sudden everything is changing and is not within your control? Yeah, been there once before, currently there now. Um, it's a lot. It's a lot to process. It's a lot to handle. My life reset or reboot, it started about 6 months ago. Um, I was furloughed. I had an idea that it was coming. I was hoping it wasn't coming, and it finally came down the pipeline. And it was taught great timing, as these things are never great timing. On the one hand, it was somewhat of a relief to know that yes, it's happening, and I know what's due, and um, I'm gonna have a little bit of breather room. On the flip side, as someone who's a big traveler and had a trip coming up that was already planned, it was approved, had a PTO. I was so looking forward to being disconnected and not having to worry. That was really hard. I had people ask me, well, aren't you going to cancel your trip? Um, no, that was a hard no. This trip was my Australia trip. It was my seventh continent for the second time. It was, yeah, being able to say that by landing in Australia and leaving the airport on July 7th, which made it 20 years to the day. And it was a trip for me that it was going to happen no matter what I had to do to make it happen, because it was a once in a lifetime moment. I was never more likely than not going to ever have the stars align in this way again, where I could say I'd been to all seven continents in 1 year. It was my second time doing so, and I got to cross that milestone off on the 20th anniversary of the first time that I had an overseas trip. So being handed this reboot, this reset, um, it it really it made me stop and think, okay, how am I going to move forward and what am I going to do with it? Um, it's a scary thing at any time in your life. It is something for me that maybe was confusing. I'm in my 30s, leading up to my 30s. Everyone kept saying, "Oh, your 30s are your 20s," but this time you have money, and I finally understood that. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I get it now. This is so exciting." I get to live my life and not have stress about the money and the finances. And the reality for me is that yes, I had the money, but I lost so much in return for that. And I was burned out. I was having some health struggles. I'm not laughing at the health struggles. I'm laughing at my cat, who you can't see. She's currently laying upside down, all 4 feet in the air, giving me this look. If you haven't met her before, she's in some of the other videos. Her name is Munch. She's my tabby. She is, she's a personality. I've never had a kitty like her. My other kitty who came up here, her name's Miss. She's a big chicken. She's very shy, so getting to see her is kind of a little treat. My little tabby down there, she's also talking. I don't think you can hear it, but she's chirping and trilling at me and wants to know what I'm doing. I digress. I'm talking about my cats. I'm supposed to be talking about what it's like to have a life reset thrown at you. And so the furlough was the beginning part of it. I had an idea was coming. I went into Australia. I did the trip, um, and then everything just kind of kept hitting. It was, yeah, so many things. My unemployment got all balled up. That took at least 2 months, if not the better part of 3 months, to get that all straightened out and sorted. That was a frustration from a financial standpoint that I hadn't anticipated, to go from making a comfortable living to now having to really figure it out when you had planned to have at least a little bit of buffer with unemployment. benefits. That was a struggle for me just mentally. I knew I was going to get through it. I know it was going to get straightened out. I was so grateful to have made plans in the past to have an emergency fund to help get me by. So that was another thing that came down the pipeline and really didn't need. I made it to August and life happens. Unfortunately, we so many of us, I'm sure, we have what I like to call our four-leggeds. We have our animals, and they're our family. They mean so much to us. And my one of my four-leggeds, my horse, her name was Maddie. She was a Mustang from the BLM. Had her for 21 years, and she decided in August it was her time to go. So, took 21 years together. Said goodbye to her. Um, Again, was not expected. It was a similar story to so many animals, at least in my life that I've experienced. Saying goodbye to where one day they're fine and the next day they're not. It was a surprise, but also a bit of a blessing because if I had still been working, I would not, more likely than not, I would not have been home visiting my parents and I wouldn't have been able to be there to say goodbye to her. So that was another hit. That was another life reset or reboot to it was just one less thing. Suddenly I'm without my job, in limbo, not knowing if I'm going to come off a furlough, if I'm going to eventually be laid off. I lost my horse. That was just now I don't have her, and that was a strange thing. I had her for about 2/3 of my life. Um, Actually almost exactly 2/3 of my life, mathematically speaking, which is kind of crazy. Um, so yeah, so it was just wild. And then the reboot it just kept coming. I went on a trip that I had planned and so glad that I did. People asked me the same thing. Well, are you going to cancel it? And I just said, absolutely not. I have this feeling that I need to be on this trip. And it's how I ended up crying on a beach in Nice. Was it because of the layoff that occurred while I was overseas? It was because my train was canceled and was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back in a way. It was just one more emotional thing that again, I knew how to handle it. Everything worked out really well, but it wasn't what I was anticipating. And um got laid off and that was, I'm hoping, kind of where things started to turn a corner maybe in a way. Um the sense of relief at having that chapter closed was something that I didn't anticipate. Um, I, I don't know that, how do I say it? There's always a storm, and I was weathering the storm, and I think I finally started to come through it, or at least that stage had passed. And now, I'm working, I'm figuring it out. I think it really teaches you when these reboots, these resets in your life, when everything is taken away, that has defined you or that you think defines you, your job, your role, um, your animals, these pieces of your life when they're no longer there, when they're no longer in place, it gives you that opportunity to step back and see what you really have. I remind myself all the time that just because I'm no longer in that role, I'm no longer employed by that company, that doesn't mean that I am not still just as capable as I've ever been. Even though I feel that was taken away from me, they didn't take away my expertise, what I've learned, my connections, my ability to figure it out and problem solve. And it's just been wild. It's wild to have been given this opportunity where I'm no longer feeling burned out. I have the energy to go ahead and focus on things I've talked about for years. I've been told to blog for probably a good 8 years. I've finally really sat down and dedicated time to that. I've been told for probably 3 or 4 years now to plan people's trips. I now offer that as one of my services. I've been told time and again to talk about my travels. I've never done it. Well, now I'm here. I have a YouTube channel. I've wanted to go back to school and get a project management certification. I'm now working on getting that up and rolling here, which has also been a little bit of a struggle, but it's we're good. I'm nearing the end of that, so that's an exciting thing, and um, yeah, I think it's just wild. Reboots are so wild. I think they're so necessary in your life. I don't know that they get easier. I think you just become more capable of handling what life throws at you. And yeah, you realize that when you find out you're smarter than you think and you're stronger than you seem. And life goes on. I, for me, travel has always been such a huge thing. And that was something that I refused to give up. I know I'm capable of figuring it out. It's not the first time I've been in this position. I figured it out before. The first time I figured it out, I got myself all the way down to Antarctica somehow. And now I can say I've done that twice. And we've got some great trips coming up I'm very excited about. And I'm just I'm not going to let this stand in the way of me being able to figure this out. I have always been able to figure it out. I'm more than capable of figuring it out. And I hope that if you're ever in a similar situation, or if you are in a similar situation, that you remember that you are more than capable of figuring it out. Everything happens for a reason. It's so cliche. Everybody says it, but I I would not be sitting here talking to the camera, talking to you, if I had not had all these events happen. I think that's really a very powerful thing. It The layoff can define you, but you get to choose what you do with it. I'm choosing which pieces to pick back up and put back together and how I want to put them back together. I I think that is a privilege. Um, and I recognize I'm very lucky. Maybe lucky is not the right word. I think I'm very privileged. I made a lot of choices in the past that set me up for success should I ever be in this situation again. It's buying me some time to really bet on myself. Oh, um, it's just you got to enjoy the journey. I can make more time. I can't make more time, but I can always make more money. That's where I'm at. I'm going to enjoy this time that I've been given to explore what I'm capable of, explore things I never have the opportunity to do, and um, really see what it's all about. Now I'm rambling. I'm losing track of where I was going. Pick it back up in another video. In the interim, welcome to my little corner of the internet. Please feel free to join my newsletter, follow along, read the blog, watch some other videos that may be a little more fun, a little more happy. I love to talk about travel, so I've got some rambling videos on travel. But I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.